Welcome to self-discoverywisdom.com, formerly known as Self-Discovery Media. On these podcasts, you're going to hear people who speak from the heart. They've taken the journey in life. Many things have happened to them, but they've changed it to happening for them. And in their strength, their courage, they've discovered their abilities and their wisdom, and they are now sharing it here with you. Do enjoy each show. We bring it to you with love and knowing that it's going to help you on your journey of life. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living right here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy. My wonderful guest, we're going to be talking about her fantastic book called The Cosmic Bitch. Oh, so exciting. It's Jennifer Fiedler. Why did she write this book? What was she trying to say? What was the universe trying to say to her? She said she'd like to speak of her passion for inspiring people seeking a deeper level of awareness, increased confidence, greater sense of self-trust, more resilience, and less fear of uncertainty. Her joy in helping people overcome their pain points around self-worth, authenticity, and their connection to the divine, and her desire to show as many people as possible that if I can do it, then they too can do it too, by getting the cosmic bitch slap out into the world. The book is all about that, but she is a veteran filmmaker, trainer, lecturer, confidence coach, racing fan, and author. She's been in the film industry for a long time, and she knows exactly how brutal it can be, how competitive, how toxic the work environment is known to man. And while working in this unique industry, she developed a serious addiction to mind-blowing exhilaration and non-stop excitement that can block out the toxic nature of what goes on around you. And after almost 20 years, Jennifer's arms got tired of holding all that toxicity at bay, and knowing she had burnt out, she dropped out to pursue a radically different course, resulting in the epic adventure spanning 4 continents and for more than 9 years. The Cosmic Big Slap is the book that Jennifer wrote about how she gradually discovered her big, fat, sharp, shiny movie-making tools could successfully put her in use in other contexts. And it's a story about basically a parable about all things that we don't know and that we do already know. I mean, I heard you on the 262 talk, which was, you were so illuminating on there, but the title of the Cosmic Big Slap. I'm always referring to people getting the cosmic 2x4. We get the nudge, nudge, wink, wink from the universe, and we're not paying attention. And then the universe go, wackaroo, have I got your attention now? That bitch slap that you got there after so long kind of denying it, refusing to listen to it, keeping your foot on the pedal all the way to make sure that you're not hearing it. How did it come about for you, Jennifer? And welcome to the show.
Happy to be here, Sarah. Thank you so much. Um, so the title of the book, Cosmic Bitch Slap, Accidental Discoveries, Compliments of the Universe. And I'd like to begin by defining what a cosmic bitch slap is. And it's the way the universe shows us something that we cannot perceive, or we're unable to see, or we're unwilling to look at. And so time and time and time again, so many people make the same mistake. Well, not perceived as such, of course, but repetitive behavior that keeps them stuck or keeps them unhappy or has deleterious consequences, shall we say. And suddenly there's a bitch slap. And what happens is that uh, receiving this short, sharp blow to the back of the head, figuratively speaking, your teeth snap shut and something rattles loose. And what loosens when it falls down into our consciousness is an insight. And insight is what allows us to part the veil, if you will. And it's a very sudden, as soon as this happens, what you were looking at before you got bitch slapped does not look like that at all any longer. And it's sudden and it's permanent. So often people talk about, in coaching, we always talk about you have to do the work, right? And that's critical, no doubt about it. But people regard this with a degree of trepidation or dread or like, oh my God, and it's going to take all this time and this. And a cosmic bitch slap is instant. And so when you recognize what that is, it really opens up something that is kind of crazy because people, it freaks them out,
Yeah.
because they think it takes all this work and whatnot. So an example of that would be someone who, say, has a very stressful job and they know somewhere deep down inside, we always know, right? The
Mm-hmm.
job is stressful and they're most unhappy, and then they have a heart attack
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or a stroke or some other serious medical, that's a cosmic bitch slap.
Mm-hmm.
That person has not been listening to their heart or themselves to understand that what they're doing is costing them dearly. And so the universe, as it always provides for us, takes the choice away from them by debilitating them with a serious illness. So that's kind of a quotidian and everyday example of a cosmic bitch slap.
Is that what happened to you? Did you fall into an illness, or what? When that bitch slap happened to you, what was the revelation that was given to you?
Oh, well, it happened over a course of time, and the subtitle is plural,
Mm-hmm.
accidental discoveries,
Mm-hmm.
compliments of the universe. So no, I'd worked in the motion picture industry for quite a while, and I came off a particularly ghastly television show, and I was just this insane dialogue took place in my head. This tiny little voice in my head said, I don't give a F word if I never make another movie again.
Mm-hmm.
And this big loud voice said, Wait, what? Shut up. What did you just say? And the tiny little voice said, No, no, I'm done, man. And the big voice said, so, not that I'm criminally insane, but we all have these
Yes.
voices in our
Yes.
heads. So the big loud voice is the voice of our ego, that
Mm-hmm.
that our head, it's a voice in our
Mm-hmm.
mind. Yeah. The tiny soft voice I'd never heard before. It
Mm-hmm.
never occurred to me that I didn't want to make movies anymore. I mean, hey man, I thought I loved what I did.
Yeah.
Granted, it was stressful and whatever, but as you said in the introduction, it's very extreme. It's very exciting and it's seriously addictive. And like, who wouldn't want that? I mean, I loved what I did. So that was the first one. And it took me quite a while to recognize what that was. Like, wait, what? Who just said that? What is that?
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first bitch slap when I realized that's the tiny, soft voice of my heart. And as humans, human nature, we tend to dwell in our head. And
Yes.
that's the domicile of the
Mm-hmm.
big, loud voice. And we all have one. It's part of
Mm-hmm.
the human condition, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that voice only ever spews toxic crap.
Mm-hmm.
That voice never says anything like, gee, Jennifer, you could do whatever you want anywhere in the world and
Mm-hmm.
enjoy doing it and have a successful, wonderful life. No, 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 no. That voice never says anything like that. So the way we recognize this tiny, soft voice of our heart is that it only ever, always tells the truth, and it's supportive and it's encouraging. And we're so programmed to not
Mm-hmm.
acknowledge that we tend to live in this headspace with this loud voice. And the bottom line is, just because it's the loudest voice in the room doesn't mean you have to listen to it.
Right. Have
So
to
that
tune it
was
out.
my indeed, indeed. So or just divert it.
Mm.
Thank you so much for your input. I'm doing something else now.
Yes.
Uh
Keep it busy
yes,
somewhere else.
absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, that was the first one. And then this trip, this adventure, they just kept happening one after another. So the most significant one that catalyzed my writing this book was that I had acquired a very large bag of sharp, shiny tools that to me are movie making tools
Hmm.
because I'd had this inner dialogue. What would I do if I didn't do this? I don't know. What would I do? I don't know how to do anything else. Da, 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 da. And the gradual discovery that these are tools not only for navigating life, but for business as well,
Hmm.
that I possessed some serious business skills,
Of
that just
course.
never occurred to me in a million years, which I call Jennifer the Idiot Strikes Again. Uh,
No, you were too immersed in what you were doing to actually understand what you were doing. Or the,
conceivably.
or the, the other dynamics of how you could do it. And that's because you said you were addicted. very much into what you were doing. It was thrilling, it was exciting. And probably it took that really God, I'm awful show actually for that little voice to actually come up and really be able to be heard, right? Because if you were still doing a show that you really loved, you would keep suppressing it and kind of fooling yourself that you were living the dream. But
Absolutely.
because that's what the head is
Absolutely.
saying, that's what the accomplishment is saying, and that's why your next gig and your next gig, well, I must be doing something right because I'm in demand. And that little voice is saying, but you're not being true to you. You can take all this expertise and you can put it into something else, just willing to take the self discovery and find out what it is. But we choose not to listen to the inner voice because it does require us to stop, be still, be present, tune in. The outside voice is all the exterior. Well, I've got the fame and the fortune and the money and the prestige. Why do I want to walk away from that? Right? Why would I want to divert from that? Because that's the ego. The inner voice is saying, but you are so much more than that. And tune
Ah,
into the
ah.
gifts inside.
Now that to me more than anything is hitting the nail on the head,
Hmm.
which is you are so much more than that.
Hmm.
And so I agree with everything you said. However, for me it wasn't a like fame and fortune and
Hmm.
I worked behind the camera,
Right.
whatever. But I also think that I agree with you that basically listening to that loud voice is the path of least resistance.
Hmm.
However, I'm adamant about the fact that in our Western culture,
Hmm.
we are deprogrammed to pay any attention to, and you can call this whatever, the voice of your heart, your intuition. I prefer the phrase inner knowing. We are just taught out of the gate
Hmm.
that that's crap.
Just
And
ignore it. Yes.
exactly,
Hmm.
exactly, and it isn't. And so that really kind of hit the nail on the head, and for me was exactly that was you're so much bigger than this.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we've all heard, I work as a confidence coach and I have been coached myself, of course. And there's a very overused phrase. I'm not big into like jargon and trite phrases and such that are that litter the ground in the coaching world, but hiding your light under a bushel.
Hmm.
And I understand the need to put things in a certain way, but that one never really like clicked with me.
Hmm.
But I was talking about this coaching session with a colleague who was also a friend of mine, and she said, God, what is the matter with you? You are so much more than an AD and a producer.
Hmm.
Are you kidding me? Like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
And it speaks to another part of our human nature, the human condition, which is what you see when you look in the mirror is a far cry
Hmm.
from what I see when I look at you.
True.
And this is part of being human. And so to transcend our human nature and move into our human potential, we need to be aware of these things and start figuring this stuff out with the help of a coach, conceivably. But we never really attain our human potential if we're not able to transcend our human nature that we all
Yeah.
share, by the way.
It's part of our upbringing. It's so indoctrinated inside of us. It's societal dictation of who you should be, what success is, how important you should be. If you do this and if you do that, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. Otherwise, no one's going to see you. You won't be important. And if we live from that exterior life, we're never going to feel enough. And we're never
Quite
going to feel accomplished. The accomplishment is knowing when you are aligned with yourself in your own knowingness, knowing what you need to know when you need to know it, and trusting that message, not even having to see the whole plan. That is,
absolutely.
you take this path and you take it in trust because you know that you're going to be given everything you need on that path as you walk it, because you're walking in faith, you're walking in trust, what anybody wants to call it. But it's there's a surrendering to that kind of higher power, that cosmic power of knowledge, in the wisdom of how to use our knowledge, because we're so stuck up in the head knowledge and how important that knowledge is and how many letters you have behind your name and everything else, that
Yeah,
we've forgotten if we don't have the wisdom on how to use the knowledge is just a database.
absolutely. However, I must say, you've just made a few huge asks of people. You know, what you've just said has entailed like five huge asks, and people are not equipped. You have to have the wisdom. Okay, where does that come from? I don't have any.
It's
You
that little
have
voice
to you
inside.
have to trust something that you may or may not believe in.
Hmm.
You have to You also said about timing, like we call that divine timing. Okay, that's a huge ask, man. Come
Hmm.
on. People are not good at the deferment of their gratification, are they?
No,
And
right.
also to acknowledge accomplishment. I mean, I completely agree with what you say,
Hmm.
but you're like a poster child for coaching because people can't do that by themselves.
No,
That's why there's coaching. And so
but you also can't help them until the inner voice gives them permission to
well,
seek the coach.
exactly, till they want to, or the doo-doo hits the fan, or something along those lines happens. So yeah,
Precisely.
it's a huge challenge for people, and what it takes is to address their pain point. You know, that's another. We're all plagued with. How often do you hear I coach around enoughness, right?
Mhm.
You are enough just as you are. And we don't feel like that. In the corporate world, it's called imposter syndrome, another jargony thing I hate. But it's all the same thing of just as I am, I'm enough.
Yes.
And and that's huge. Issues of authenticity, like conformity, this almost like lemmings running and diving off a cliff, the need to conform. And the thing about conformity, the good thing about conformity is you fit in and everybody likes you,
Hmm.
right?
For a
The
while.
bad thing about conformity is you fit in and you don't like yourself.
Mm.
And so being fearful of being authentic, hey man, what you see is what it is. Got a problem with that? I don't. Feel free to share because what you think of me is none of my business.
Yes.
So this is a very deeply inculcated thing in our culture. And again, not in a lot of Eastern cultures. I spend a lot of time in India and they have such tangible, they radiate spirituality and happiness. And the juxtaposition of squalor and beautiful temples is mind-blowing, but these people are happy. And they
Mm.
don't have, I mean, of course, there's a caste system, there's all kinds of stuff that we would go, oh my God. But they're cool with that, you know? Here's my cast, here's my deal. And there is no imposter syndrome or not enoughness or conformity, you know, whatever. I can't be authentically me. And that, you know, think about people living their life as somebody else. What in hell must that be like?
Mm.
I mean, that's a definition of torture to me, you know? Like
Yes.
what in the world? And look, with this world we live in, these false eyelashes that look like dead spider legs curled up, and shapewear and fingernails. Like, how do you get dressed or do what you need to do
I
in the
know.
bathroom with that? I
Oh,
mean, and part of it's fashion trend, but part of it's also modification of something because as it is,
you
it's
don't
not
feel
good enough.
enough. Hmm. Yes. Um, it's being able to stand tall in yourself and say, I am. Just I am.
Absolutely. I
I
am.
am. No,
That's the complete sentence.
that is. And it is a journey to get there. And as I said before, if the outside voice is still so loud you're not listening to the inside voice, you're not going to know you need a coach or you need to take this journey. It's only when that inside voice really starts knocking on the shoulders, tap, tap, nudge, nudge, or cosmic bitch slap, or a few of them to get to that point where, like, I cannot live this external life anymore. It feels foreign to me. I feel foreign in that skin. Surely there must be something more to me. There must be another direction. And when they're willing to take that direction, then they're willing and open to receive the guidance they need from whomever they seek it. It's called free will. It's that permission for others to help you. You can't help anyone until they're willing to help themselves.
Oh, absolutely. And now you just made another huge ask. is for people to be cool with receiving rather than giving, because this is part of Christian dogma of, oh, no, 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 it's all about giving. And
Yes.
if you can't with equal ease give and receive, you're out of balance.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in my coaching experience, again, I concur with everything you say. In my coaching experience, this juncture of I really need help, sadly, is either the result of something cataclysmic, or on a few situations, it started with me describing the person, and it was so uh, not their picture of themselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They were like, "What are you talking about? That's not me." And this was someone younger than me, so more more malleable, if you will. Uh, and I said, "Well, I think you're full of crap, you know. I don't see anything that you just said to me. Here's what I see,
Mm-hmm.
and I see you, and I
Mm-hmm.
understand you, and here's what I see, and I also see what this could be." And I described that, and they like signed up on the spot.
Right.
So it's rather extreme. Of course, we need to give ourselves permission to do that, or we need to be laid low by something cataclysmic,
Yeah.
or we need to be drawn in by something that's so irresistible, something we yearn for so
Yeah.
badly that someone explains or paints a picture of that's water in the desert. We really want that, and we trust that person because they've just blown our head open
Right.
to move forward. But yeah,
Yeah, the
it's
picture you've painted of them is like, you see that? You see
exactly.
that? I can
Yeah.
be that,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And
Exactly.
it's the, it's like I would like to be that. How do I become that? So it's an invitation, right?
Quite,
You but if
quite,
they don't take the invitation, you can't go any further. But if they take that invitation, though now you know they're willing to actually do the work, to actually see the vision that you see inside of them, right?
quite, quite.
Um, and it does take a lot of ups and downs because while you're trying to discover who you are really, what
Mm.
is your meaningful purpose and who are you? Where can you get to this point where you can say, I am, that's it, full stop. It does take a journey, and it's very, very easy to get manipulated by the external and by other people, by your work, by conditions around you. And there is a certain amount of seclusion that you need to do and shut off from the outside world in order to be able to hear yourself and hear what it is that you need to embrace. Because you can't do that if you're still in the arena of all that other negative chatter.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we do a lot of work on boundaries, you know,
Mm,
and again, I always they laugh when I'm like, why do you care what he thinks of you? That's
mhm.
none of your business, man.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
like, wait, what? But there all bad behavior, all let's say not optimal behavior is fear-based.
Hmm.
And we're fearful of censure, we're fearful of discovery, so many, you know, a plethora, fears abound, right?
Right. Some people are
But
just afraid of fear, full stop. Yeah.
absolutely. I don't want to be afraid. I don't want to be
Yes,
worried. Oh my
yes.
God. Uh, Tremendous focus on money, and I'm doing a job that I hate, but it's a money, 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 money. And that's like backwards because, of course, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you don't have to even worry about money.
Hmm.
So these are very difficult concepts for people to grasp. And often it's easier to start with dealing with their boundaries
Hmm.
and getting them to articulate, okay, what makes you say that? What I don't get what you're saying. Can
Hmm.
you say that to me another way? And then gradually out comes whatever rule, whatever bullshit rule they've been adhering to
Yes.
for years. And I always get a feeling like a ugh when that moment happens. I'm
Hmm.
like, oh yeah, there's the event horizon, right?
Hmm.
And then we can move forward and often make great strides. But I've I've always been very fortunate in that I've never really suffered adversity. I'm one of those chronic overachiever kind of people. Uh, Dancing my way through my life, and that's not to say there haven't ups and downs and
Hmm.
whatever, but I've never been really had tremendous adversity in my life, and I think that I know that a lot of that has to do with attitude because
Hmm.
I'm very resilient and I'm pretty self-analytical. And I've always known, I've never thought to myself, oh, you're such a failure, you're such a loser. I've always learned from failure without anybody having to tell me that.
It's a good lesson. Hmm.
I've always turned inward to figure out, like, why am I thinking that, or why am I
Hmm.
saying that, or I mean, we're just whatever. So this adventure, this is kind of a story I'm pretty proud of. I've always been I have no fear because I don't care.
Hmm.
Something's going to happen. I don't need to know the outcome. Something's going to happen. So I don't really do fear.
Hmm.
As we age, I worry about my aging parents. That's different. I'm not fearful on my own behalf. Yeah.
It's concern.
So yes, concern. Oh, absolutely, not
Hmm.
fear. It's tremendous concern.
Yes.
But I love risk and I love uncertainty because the the unknown, we're very uncomfortable in the unknown and uncertainty without seeing that the known is limiting. When
Yes.
you reside in the known, you're limited to, obviously, what you know.
Yeah.
Whereas the unknown, the un in unknown is the same un that's in unlimited.
Hmm.
So the unknown is limitless. It offers limitless possibilities and opportunities, and that's where magic lives in the
Yeah.
unknown. And so again, it's human nature to be very fearful. It's control oriented. I need to know the outcome, man. I'm not doing
Mm.
this until I know
Yes.
okay, you
What's the
gotta, you
what's the
gotta.
end of the chapter? How did they die? Yes.
Exactly, exactly. And we have this monkey death grip
Hmm.
on that. And it's really just open your hands and
Hmm.
relinquish that control. And
Surrender.
so, oh yeah, that's hard too.
Mm.
At any rate, when I was in Korea for a year and then I was in India for half a year and I went back to Los Angeles and this is all in the book and part of this thing, but I uh, was told this Poland kept popping into my head.
Mm.
This is the universe speaking, and I'm like, Poland, why the hell would I go to Poland, man? I've been to France, I've been all over Europe, I've shot movies in Eastern Europe, like Poland, what?
Mm.
And as it panned out, Poland was indeed optimal for the business that I was doing at the time.
Mm.
And so I did a bunch of research and found out all about Poland, and I was like, oh wow, man. So I was I'll never forget this day in my apartment in Los Angeles, and I'm sitting not at my desk at my dining room table on my Mac, and I'm looking up flights and such, and I found a flight to Warsaw, the capital of Poland,
Mm.
and I bought it, one-way ticket to Warsaw. I had no job. I had no housing lined up. I do not speak Polish. I didn't know anybody there. And I bought a one-way ticket and I ended up living there for 5 years and successfully. And the lesson there, I've told people this story and they're like, oh my God, you are crazy, man.
Hmm.
Or, wow, you're so brave. I could
Hmm.
never do. Of course you could do that. And the reason I could do that is because I know and trust myself.
Yes.
I was not putting myself in harm. There's always a way out,
Yes.
but I know that once I get there, I know what my people skills are. I
Mm.
know what my networking skills are. I know what I'm capable of bringing to the party or skills that I have that I can leverage that are of tremendous value. And gee whiz, guess what? They were. So we can all do that. That's
Yeah.
why I say, hey, if I can do that, you can too. And you're fooling yourself if you're like, oh, Jennifer, you're so brave. You're so that I'm just like you are.
An
You, the
explorer.
collective you. Yeah,
There's an
we're
explorer
all
in all of us.
absolutely,
And if we
absolutely.
could step more into this seeking, I call it the what if factor. If you go, what if this all goes wrong? But what if? what
Yeah,
if there's
what if
something
it
to be
doesn't?
discovered there? Yeah, it's all a change of that attitude and that, the
Mm.
way that you look at it. It is, I've been one of these people that literally has one-way ticketed. I came to this country, Canada, a one-way ticket, and I had to have a return to somewhere because otherwise they won't let you in. But I came here for a year, and I didn't really have a permit to live here for a year, but I did. I worked under the table and all of that. And then I was going back to the States to live. I didn't know how. I never know how anything's going to happen. I just follow the instincts of doing it, right? I met my ex-husband here, had three beautiful children, right? So that was what I was, and I'm still here in Canada. But the thing is, if we're so crippled by other people's opinions, other people's dictation of what we can and cannot do. If we're so crippled by the fear of what could go wrong, nothing is ever going to go right. Right. And I was brought up because I was sickly a child. I was brought up, well, let's just hope she makes a good marriage. She's never going to accomplish anything. And then kind of for a while, it was like, well, nobody ever thinks I'm ever good enough to do anything. But on the other hand, I turned it the other way. Well, if they don't expect anything from me, there's my freedom to explore. I'm just become what I want to be, or just,
Oh,
you know.
that's very cool.
So,
That's
it
very
took a little
cool.
while to do that. But what I found, and I've just done my memoir as well, and what I found in doing this is my universal soul, which is my compass, ignited with my heart and said, you're going here, you're doing this, and don't worry about anything else. Just be in the now, be present. And I'm not one for big planning. I'm not one for big organization. I've got better as I've got older because, there's a little more to do. But it was very much about, I'm going that, well, do you know anybody there? No. Do you this, do you that? No. It's just, I'm just meant to go and what will be, will be. And
Indeed.
I had the gift of being able to kind of politely pull the wool over people's eyes. BS is probably a better thing. Uh, Talk myself into things or talk other people into hiring me.
Hmm.
Right. So it is, can I do the job? I don't know. I was the first woman rep of Mobile Oil in South Africa. Did I know anything about oil? Zero. But I knew about customer service,
Yeah,
right? I knew about, listening to people to what they needed. They knew what oil they wanted. It wasn't me selling them the oil. They know what they want. They wanted to know what service they were going to get. And I realized that's being kind of the thread in everything I've done. And I think it's looking at your transferable skills. What are you good at? Some people may not be good at that networking or getting out there and really introducing themselves. Okay, then go somewhere and join one thing that you're comfortable at. Build your own little tribe there and then start branching out slowly. But just be willing to explore life because life isn't meant to be backseat driver. Get behind the wheel, put it in gear, point it in
yeah,
a direction and see where it goes. All you need to know is you've
absolutely.
got enough gas or gas money. That's all.
Or yeah, well, gas money, right?
Yeah.
And so it rose an interesting point, which is you don't need to know how, which
Right.
is another one of these things. Like, okay, you got to decide, are you in control, or are
Mm,
you saying the universe is going to provide you with that which you want? Because if you're in control, it's fine. The how, the why, the minutia, the BS, whatever, the drama. But you just said to me that you believe in that. Okay, so why are you doing the how? That's not your job, which is another, like, that's none of your business.
hmm
So you've got to commit to one or the other. And you just told me for the last 2 hours that, oh, yes, in the universe, blah, 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 whatever. But here you are still in your human skin bag trying to do, and how is that going to work? And planning is another thing I wanted to address, which is I completely concur that planning, what's the point? I mean, and let's be sure we put things in the proper context.
hmm
I've invited 5 German producers to my home for dinner. Yes, I need to plan for that.
Yes.
Obviously, I'm cooking. What are they,
hmm
we need to plan for that. However, bigger, so it's kind of like the stuff you got to plan for is the little stuff, right?
Yes.
Like,
Preparation.
do you
Preparation.
have,
hmm
yes, do you have enough money for gas?
hmm
Do I have the proper things so I can plug in my hair dryer, like whatever,
The phone.
planning small things,
Yes.
which is like taking human steps
Yes.
to do your part of it. And then once again, open your hands, baby. Just let it
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Strap yourself in because the ride's going to be amazing. And that's very, very hard for people to do.
The thing is, people will trust things if they're brought up religious, they're brought up to believe in the God they've been told to believe in, right? They may not
Mhm.
have had experience with that God. They haven't had a conversation or anything to do with it. And I had somebody on this week who said, I believed in God. I would go to church, but I've never had that connection because she was looking for it on the outside. And how other
Um,
people told her how she had to have that connection. And
quite.
it's when she then finally kind of made that journey where she made the connection direct line, right, to her God. And that's the thing. Other people are going to tell you how. And what you have to do is you pick, like you're cooking a dish, you're going to pick the ingredients that you think are going to go in that dish, right? A little less salt, a little more pepper, a little less this and a little more that, because it's your dish. Now, somebody may give you some tools, they give you the ingredients to say, make this dish with it. How you do it is up to you. They're giving you
That's a
some
great
advice,
analogy.
right? They're giving you some advice, but it's got to be, it has to have the essence of you in that, because that's what defines the dish different to just the basic recipe that anybody else can do. So, how do we bring our essence to everything we do in life? Is that we've got to know who we are from the core of our very being so we can bring that to everything else that we do. And that means you really do have to turn away from the outside and go in into the inside and really listen in, because then you'll find the right coach. You'll be able to hear the right coach. What the coach is saying in look, this ingredient, that ingredient, that ingredient. Again, how you put it together is now up to you and what it means to you. But if we're not willing to participate in our own life, we're just looking for someone to fix us. Just tell me how. Just tell me how. Oh,
Oh,
that
yeah.
didn't work. Tell me how. But instead of how did you do it? What ingredients can I take? And then
Hmm.
how do I do it in a way that it resonates and relates to me?
Absolutely. And a lot of that has to do with your level of authenticity and
Mm,
your willingness to be authentic, your lack of fear
yeah.
around being authentic. I don't give a shit. I'll do it. That's hard. That's hard. And I agree, yes,
Or
it
even
does
doing it
involve
fearful. Doing it
turning off.
fearful, you know,
Well, yeah, but it goes
until
so
you're
much further
comfortable.
when you're not. Yeah,
Mhm.
but I agree. Yes, you have to like kind of divorce yourself, if you will, from things that bring up what you're trying to overcome. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's kind of like people in AA obviously are encouraged to not hang out with their friends who drink and hang out at bars. Makes sense, right? And that's problematic for them because, oh, this was my best friend for 20
Yes.
years. Absolutely, with a toxic habit that you're trying to overcome.
Mhm.
And this is very similar to that of to put your to put your signature on your life.
Mhm.
Uh, we need to lose a lot of the fear, but have the authenticity to be like, yeah, I'm going to go for that. And I kind of don't really care what my grandmother says. I love
Mhm.
her very much, but
Mhm.
she's always kind of rained on my parade or, my colleagues. That's a big one. Oh, but my colleagues, what about them? Ditch your job. They're no longer your colleagues. Problem solved.
Mhm.
I mean, there's always more than one way of skinning a cat, and
Yeah.
it's just hard for people to some of the more extreme ways of doing that involve larger action steps that are kind of hard for people.
I know, and one of the things I would suggest to people when they're on this journey is bring your boundary and quite really tight around you, and just let people know, look, I'm on a journey at the present moment, and I'll get back to you if I get back to you, and
Hmm.
this is the time to be selfish. This is the
Yeah.
time to pour into yourself everything that you've poured into everyone else. And I was one of those people, pour, 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 and then be depleted and wonder why
Well,
I was depleted. And it's like, because you're not pouring into people that are receiving in such a beautiful light and energy that that energy is coming back to fortify you. You're pouring into people that are just sucking you dry like a piranha, and you've got nothing left. right? So you have to kind of switch off to people all around you and go, okay, I'm insulating, I'm going in. I am just going to have the people around me that are going to help me in my self-discovery. And that is not being self, it is being selfish. It's essential that you be selfish. It is essential that you place that importance upon yourself. It's not self-importance, it's importance of self. Because that's the only way you're
Absolutely.
going to truly kind of listen to your own voice, your own feelings. So many people are thinking but they're not feeling. And you've got to feel those thoughts. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is switch off from everybody else around you. Then you're going to go, you know what? I'm only from distance with that person over did I realize how toxic they were. I didn't realize it when I was around them. Or that,
Hmm.
that person's been trying to help me all along and I was just too deaf to hear. And
Hmm.
that, I'm not in the right arena altogether. Gosh, no, no. What am I doing here? And this is really what I love. Why am I not doing that? But you don't discover
Quite.
that unless you're in that space.
It absolutely, and it requires silence and stillness. And I that's probably what you said kind of cast me back to my life shooting movies was a lot of fun, but it was always this. I felt like producers are always trying to screw you out of money, right? And so we all belong to unions. And of course, there is your union scale rate, wage, the legal limit, the legal minimum they have to pay you. But on many movies, your rate is negotiated.
Mhm.
Above scale rate is negotiated. And it's just this constant, like, well, would you do it for this? Would you do it for that? Would you do it
Haggle,
for this?
haggle, haggle.
And like, yeah, no, I wouldn't. Here's
Hmm.
what your show is a nightmare. Here's what I need to make on it. Are you going to do it or not? And I remember so clearly this horrible man saying to me, "Well, you know what? A monkey could do your job." And I was like, "You think so? Okay, good luck finding the monkey." And I walked off the show.
Hmm. Hmm.
And because that's just like, dude, please, after he had already tried to get, bargain basement prices.
Yes.
So I think that conceivably that played in my head for a while,
Hmm.
monkey could do your job. But I think that kind of catalyzed somewhere this insane dialogue that happened like out of the blue that I described earlier in the call. And if and when it's appropriate, I'd like to circle back to a cosmic bitch slap and the
Yes.
aftermath of that.
Hmm.
That's good. Oh, uh, so insight, when we receive an insight from being bitch slapped, uh, usually we're looking at a problem or a challenge or some issue is in front of us, like some
Hmm.
blockage, something in front of us. And what that insight does is that it allows us to make a connection between what's in front of us and something that happened to us before that we
Hmm.
haven't thought of.
Hmm.
And so when we make that connection, it allows us, or we make an analogy, if you will, is a fancier word, but to make that connection of, oh, hey, oh my God, this is like that.
Hmm.
And then that allows us to be like, and what did I do? Oh, I remember when that happened, I did that and it worked and this and that. And all of a sudden you're all like, woo.
Hmm.
And you then have more than one solution, workable, viable solution for what's in front of you. And you have just brought the unknown
Hmm.
over the castle wall into the
Hmm.
area of the known such that you can figure out that
Yeah.
problem, issue, whatever. And when you do, and it's successful, we feel accomplished.
Yes.
And feeling accomplished is an instant confidence boost.
Hmm. Hmm.
Another one of these things that happens instantly on contact. Bitch slap, insight, connection, solutions, success, accomplishment, confidence.
Yeah.
And once you get a grip on that, is a
Hmm.
very rinse and repeat process. And so for me, that was one of my biggest bitch slaps on this journey was when I was in Korea. I was working at a children's language academy, English language. And I was kind of there under duress, I must say. Uh, I like working with children, but not in that, like movie kids are like little
Mm,
grown-ups,
hmm
so that's terrific. But it was very challenging, and it was enjoyable for me because I was really stretched, and I
mm,
love being stretched. I
mm,
hate being bored. I love being stretched. But I was like stressed out of my mind. And I had done a number of things to de-stress that in the past had worked and they weren't working. And I was like, what is going on, man? And I got bitch slapped. I was in my Korean apartment one night, drinking an icy beer and eating some puffy, ricey snack things. And I was kind of mentally venting of like, this is such bullshit. It's Everything changes every day. They can't keep a schedule. It changes every day. There's these ridiculous demands. There's all these temper tantrums there. And all of a sudden, boom, I got a huge one. And I was like, oh my God, this is just like shooting a low budget movie on location.
hmm
And I was so like my mouth, this puffy, ricey
mm.
snacks fell out of my mouth. And I had to get up and move because I was so energized by this. But point for point, on a movie, I deal with actors. Here I'm dealing with kids. On a movie is organic. Things change all day, every
Mm,
day. They certainly do
hmm
here too.
hmm
On a movie, so like, and this is all a chapter in the book, but like point for point for point for point for point. And when I was done doing that, the stress was completely drained out of my body,
Yeah.
never to return in that job. And that's the power of connecting, making a
Yes.
connection. And
Mm.
it's like that for your younger listeners, they conceivably won't know what I'm talking about. But Agatha Christie was a golden age mystery writer.
Yes.
And one of her characters was Jane Marple, who was this little old
hmm
lady in her
hmm
80s who lived in a village and watched everything. She wasn't like a busybody, but she watched everything. And
Observer.
she,
hmm
observer, that's right, an observer. And she would always, at some point in this murder mystery, say, oh, Tommy reminds me of a young boy many years ago named
Mm.
Nigel. And Nigel was this and that. And that's how she solves the crime.
Yes.
Because this guy is just like that person or this woman or whomever. This is just like that. And Shazam, she figures it out.
Yes.
And so, in a literary sense, it really speaks to the power of being able to make an analogy and connect
Yes.
this in this, castle with a big wall around it, right?
hmm
Outside the wall is all this scary, like, oh my God, I don't know what that is. But as soon as you do that, you've reached over the wall
Yeah.
and picked something up and brought it inside, right? And
hmm
now it's part of your known and your world and what's on the inside of that. So it's quite a valuable skill to acquire and develop.
Using the analogy of her, she was an objective observer.
Yes.
So she could watch things and let it sit with her until connection came. And very often we're looking at something and it's like, well, what does it mean? How am I meant to do it? Did it just let it sit.
Just calm
Just let
down.
calm down. Let it
Mm,
sit. It will be revealed. The aha moment will come where the connection is there. But we're so busy pushing the connection before it's ready to be connected. Right. So as we talk a great deal and anything about stillness and silence, being in your stillness, being in your silence, being present with self, with nothing else around you, is a great way to kind of observe what is going on within you, but also the observations on the outside. You will always see something that's relatable to you or something that's gone on, going on, or is going to go on in your
mm,
future. And when you pay attention to that, oh, yes, yes, so that happened to me, or that reminds me of this, or that reminds me of that, or you see something and it could even be a warning of what is coming.
mm.
But because when you get to wherever it is you're going, you then think back to what you've just seen. And there's a
Boy.
message in there. So
Hmm.
the observation of life without the dictation, observing and then waiting for it to unravel as to what it means is an art in itself. And that's why Agatha Christie was such a good writer because she always wrote from the observational point of view. And I think
But
that's some producers, some directors and writers still do that, and that's why we're always intrigued because we don't know it's unknown what's going to happen next. We might perceive an idea of this and that, but we don't know until and we allow it to unravel and discover. But in our
mm,
own lives, we don't. I want it
mm,
now. What does it mean now? How do I use it now? Blah, 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 now. Calm down. Take a breath. Be present with self. Switch everything else off. What you need to know in the now will be presented. Observe.
yeah. Well, yeah, and silence and stillness is it's not optional, it's mandatory, I'm
Absolutely.
afraid.
Hmm.
And we live in the, power down your eye shit.
Yeah.
For real. Just
Yeah.
turn it all off.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of conversation about doing deep work, which is absolutely totally focused work for a small amount of time, as opposed to your emails open, your social media is open, ping, ding,
Hmm.
whatever, stop what you, okay, that's the norm. And you will never, ever achieve what you want that way.
No.
And this is another part of the human condition is the frenetic nature
Hmm.
of what we try to do. And we've been told that multitasking is a good thing. Okay, let me tell you what, it's not a good thing.
Hmm.
Focused, single,
Yeah.
point A to point B, finish that task, move on to the next
Yes.
one. Now, I'm not saying, I'm not taking away from people who are able to do a number of things at once. I'm one of those people. But to
Jenny Mothers.
do, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. But it's out of necessity, right? It's not like you have a choice per
You're
se,
right.
and then you become more skilled at that. But now that's presented as like, oh, that's a great way to be, and it kind of
Mm.
isn't really.
No.
And who would if they didn't have to, right? So this idea of silence and stillness is another thing that is anathema to us. Just sit down and shut up.
Yeah.
Can't do it. Can't do
Mm.
it. And it's like a game I play with people. I'll take my phone and turn on the timer, right? The stopwatch. Turn on the stopwatch. And this happened with a close, dear family friend of ours, and she would never shut up. And I was meditating one morning, and she invaded my space. And people who like walk up to you and just start talking, or
Hmm.
you're in physical proximity and they just start like, dude, excuse me, I'm kind of busy doing something here, that without any
You're right.
consideration of, is it, it's one of my trigger things. So there I was out meditating. We were in Canada, as a matter of fact. And walked out in the morning with her cigarette and her coffee and just ba- 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 ba. I was like, dude, please, please, man, I'm trying to meditate. It's my morning me time, and it's 5:30 in the morning.
You're right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's okay. Oh, I'm sorry. And took a few steps away and continued smoking and started yakking again. And I'm like, sweetheart, please, please, I'm begging you to go somewhere else. Just
Mm.
please give me this is
My
precious,
space. My
my
space.
space and my precious 15
Mm.
minutes every morning. So couldn't do it, whatever. She moved away. And I said, okay, we're gonna play a game. Right. We went on the other side of the house where the sun was coming up, where there was a beautiful lake, Lake Superior, I believe, it was like just beautiful. And I said, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to stand here. And she's like nature girl, into it and stuff. We're going to stand here and watch the sunrise without speaking. And she looks at me and she's like, okay, Jennifer. I said, okay, are you ready? And she's like, yeah, I'm ready. And so I kind of surreptitiously poked the button on the stopwatch on my phone. Guess how long she lasted?
5 seconds.
9.
Had to make a comment on it. Hmm.
Yeah, 9 seconds.
Hmm.
And we've addressed that subsequently, and she knows this monkey mind, this
Yes.
drama, but is not at that place that you described
Mm.
earlier of being ready or being, it hasn't messed her up bad enough yet.
Yes. Yes.
Uh, and it just really, it's interesting to me, because I've gone days without speaking to
Hmm.
anybody.
Hmm.
I'm sure you have too.
Hmm.
And that's another part of our cultural indoctrination of course we're social animals,
Hmm.
but it's such a pejorative, negative, like stillness and silence equals loneliness and isolation.
No,
No, it doesn't. No,
no,
it
no,
doesn't. It in
definitely not. It's actually being comfortable with being alone with self.
Yeah,
Right. Right.
yeah,
I'm not
well,
lonely. I'm just enjoying my own presence. Right. And there's
absolutely.
always a dialogue going on in your head anyway. And the thing is, I drive to my daughter's every week. I'm driving tomorrow, and it's about an hour and 40 away, and it's over the Malahat. It's really pretty along the lakes and the ocean. And a lot of stupid drivers on the road. So there's always that as well that you've got to deal with. But I don't put the music on. I just allow a thought comes in and another thought comes in. I just let it do its thing, right? And it's like sometimes a movie or a story or a song or something in my head comes up, and sometimes it's just piecemeal. But the thing is that my mind is busy driving,
Hmm.
right? So my spirit can kind of dance and do what it wants to do.
Absolutely. And I think that is such a great story because yeah, it does. I'm one of those people who I have music in my head
Yes,
24/7. I was
yes.
raised with classical music and I
Hmm.
played the piano for many years, and there's always a soundtrack playing in my head.
Hmm.
And it's my go-to thing, right? I get in the car and switch on a classical radio station. And when I don't, and
Hmm.
I started to not, all of these things have to be conscious, right?
Yes, yes.
Uh, I remember I earned my living managing time. I mean,
Hmm.
people and money, but
Hmm.
mostly time. And I remember, and this was before smartphones, of course, saying to myself, you know what? I'm not going to wear my watch all weekend.
Right.
And I didn't. And that was, I'm telling you, man, that was like unheard of for me to not
Hmm.
wear a watch for a weekend. And this music thing is kind of the same thing of I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna not put the radio on because I kind of have some stuff I'm trying to work through and figure out whatever. And it's the same for me, kind of like I use different words, but I really resonate with what you said because when you're driving or when I'm on the treadmill. And
Hmm.
for me, it's not that my mind is engaged, my body is engaged in
Yes.
mindless physical activity,
Right.
driving or on the
Yes.
treadmill. And my, I guess, spirit, but I always thought it was my mind now that you mention it.
Mm.
But that's where I'm in creation mode.
Yes.
My mind can move outward in an expansive way to create my reality that has
Yeah.
yet to happen. It's a place of imagining and
Mm.
envisioning and setting intentions and whatever. And so I don't think we give ourselves time for that. And if you're conscious about it, so there's another thing I've had great success with clients of like, okay, so the mind needs to go out and create. And after the treadmill, I do a yoga and Pilates flow to get my mind back in the present, to
Mm.
ground me in my body, feeling my body back in my body. And after that, I do my meditation so my mind can go even deeper into my body, into the inside. That's the embodiment of consciousness.
Hmm.
So that's something that's worked really well for me, but I've been very conscious about it,
Hmm.
you know?
Exactly.
And I think
It's the
people,
consciously
yeah.
unconscious,
Yes,
right?
quite.
It's I've got a movie going on in my head all the time.
Oh,
And
wow.
I am anally detailed in my movie. The soundtrack, the color, what the person's wearing, what they're doing. And sometimes I get stuck on something. No, no, that's not right. That's not right. And it's like, you know, uh, and it can be quite
Oh,
annoying, especially when you're trying to sleep, because it's constantly going on. I'm a visualer,
yes,
and everything has to be just so. And I'm not dictating it. If you understand, I'm
I
following
know.
it.
I
I'm
know what you
letting the
mean.
camera pick it up and go, no, no, that scene's not right. The lighting isn't right. And I'm just, it just, I don't know, it's just the way it happens. But when I'm kind of stressed or got a lot to do or got to do mundane stuff, music's in my ear. And then music is my tranquilizer. The music calms me down. The music, and this is the beautiful thing about understanding quantum physics. They've measured music, and its frequency. And music actually can calm your whole equilibrium down. So whenever I
Absolutely.
suffered from depression, music was the one that brought me back into equilibrium, back into flow, back into center. And it was that companion, it was that trust. I didn't have to do anything other than just listen
Hmm.
and allow the music to do its work, and then I could go and do other stuff. So music is always very, very important, and it's a huge ingredient in our medicinal needs in our psyche.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Vibrational
Mm,
frequencies, that
exactly.
are solfeggio tones and such. Absolutely. And those do affect things people don't like to acknowledge, our chakras and our
Yes.
own vibrational energy and illness. I saw something a few months ago that they've now discovered a very high frequency vibrational, very, very high frequency that dissolves cancer.
Yes.
And this is being done in Asia. This
Mm,
study is being done probably China. I can't really remember. But I was like gobsmacked because I was like, wait, what about the surrounding tissue? No, 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 no. It's some harmonic frequency of
mm,
what's cancerous with this vibrational frequency that's, of course, something in the range of what a dog can't even
yeah.
hear. It's really high. And it's like a laser blast
Yes.
thing. It's just dematerialized, but none of the surrounding tissue. Okay, come on. That's amazing. Well, it's very vindicating. It's amazing.
Yes.
It's vindicating. And for me, it's like, and ergo is the universe, and that we're all embodiments of consciousess contained
Exactly.
in a skin bag.
And
Yeah.
when we say it's the hertz that we're in, and when we're in the love hertz, the higher frequency, we can't knowingly do any harm to anyone else. To do so is to harm ourselves. But we go even further into the higher dimensional frequency, and then this is the energy, the divine energy that we are meant to be rising up to meet and
Boy,
have this ethereal experience. Along with we've been living such a human experience without the evolvement of our consciousness. And this is the era of the conscious rising, of going
mhm,
up into that higher frequency. I've done many a show under, especially under the quantum spirituality zone, of apparatuses and frequencies and things like this that have become the healing and the equilibrium, because a lot of it is block chi. When we
mhm.
have energy that's blocked in our body, it breaks down the oxygen, the fluidity of oxygen and blood and flow is not running. And so whatever area is blocked starts diseasing, right? That's when we're at ill at ease, disease is invited in. But when we break through that and put everything in our frequency and our body back in flow again, right? The body has
We're
such a
healthy.
wonderful frequency. We're healthy because the harmonious orchestra in our body is working. We need to support that. We've also got to remember we're 90% water, and with the Amato experience, with the water experience, the ignore the water didn't change, negativity to water went dark,
Oh, yeah.
crystallization of the possible water. So if we're
Yeah,
constantly feeding ourselves negativity and around toxicity, we're changing the waters in our body that are meant to be supporting our organs. And the reason why our
absolutely.
organs are breaking down is because of that. When we when we intellectually know, it is time then for consciously to make those changes, because
Definitely,
this is all
definitely.
scientifically proven. It's
Oh,
like
yeah. And
we
nobody
know,
wants
so
to
what are we
do
going
it.
to do about it?
Exactly. Or we reject it out of hand. And
Yeah.
that Japanese, that was like, okay, read it and weep. This is
Yes.
not bullshit.
Yes. I've
Look at
interviewed his
this.
assistant that worked
Look
with him a
at
couple of
this.
times. Yes.
Totally. And I've spoken to people who are like, oh, you've got to be kidding me.
No.
Or semantics, right?
Yes.
Cyman,
Yeah.
Cymanti, right? Vibrational frequency and the patterns that are, this is all very quantum, very
Yes.
regulated. And the thing about this that I really like, the musical, music, I'm talking about the more mathematical part of it,
Hmm.
is that composers, I'm a big history freak, yeah.
Mm.
Composers have known this for as long as there have been composers. I mean,
Yes.
Gustav Holst is a guy who wrote a symphonic suite entitled The Planets.
Mm.
Okay, well, guess what? That's about and the
Yes.
frequencies and the
Yes.
tonalities of that composition. And also mathematicians
Hmm.
going back from prior to Archimedes have also been aware of this.
Of course.
So, like, what the hell's wrong with
I
us?
don't know. This is what I keep asking. We have all of this knowledge that has been based in fact for thousands of years. Why are we still so dense?
Yeah, right. Well, and so
Yes.
resistant to this, and what I'm fascinated by, what changed us from
Mm,
our innocence isn't the right word, or gullibility, our willingness, that's the word I want,
mm,
our willingness to behold these things and
mhm.
be like, wow, yeah, and to take out of them what they get, just
Yes.
that, wow, yeah,
Intuitive
to
living.
now of like, oh, no, 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 that's bullshit. That's some new age bullshit. Like, what happened?
There's no
What
new age
happened,
about it at
man?
all, my dear. Yeah.
Exactly. But
I think
the
what happened a lot was religion because then what they are doing, you can't have a direct line to God's source. You've got to go through the
well, yeah,
church and they
gotta
introduced
go through
hell.
us.
Yeah, exactly. And then it all became about control. Because if
Yeah,
you have
yeah,
people in fear, you have them in control.
absolutely.
And then we became so fear dominated that it's in our DNA, it's ancestral, it's past life ancestral. And so we carry it with us, and very often we don't even know what the hell we're afraid of, but it's in our DNA. And we need to
Yeah,
change the restructure of that DNA. The only way we're going to do that is the waters that we feed. So if we choose. I may not understand, it may be unknown to me, but I am willing and open to learn, to embrace what I feel is impossible that is possible. And if we're not going to step into the wondrous frame of mind, we're always going to get stuck in the fear, in the limitation, in the toxicity that is holding us back.
totally, totally concur. And it's sad, no? I
Mm,
mean, here's these amazing, brilliant, and it's also like, uh, I remember the moment I had the epiphany and I was a kid. I was like not even a double digit yet, of like, oh wow, I'm connected to everything. That is
hmm.
so cool. But wait, I'm also me.
Yeah.
And as a kid, this was a fascinating conundrum for me,
Mm,
to hold
hmm.
those two things in the same container, in the same space. Pardon me. But I remember it like it was yesterday.
Yes. Well, I mean, I
And
was brought
and
up
that
that
was
way.
so cool to me.
Yes.
That was like the coolest thing I'd ever come up with,
I'm
ever.
probably subliminally stayed with you. Even if your conscious agent stayed with you, subliminally came with you of
Yes,
that
yes.
understanding, right? Again, I was a sickly child, thrown into bed for weeks on end of blank white walls, and I'm going to go mad if I don't go traveling. So off I went dimensional traveling, and I realized that I wasn't a scholar. I couldn't retain information, partly maybe because our smoke blocks the oxygen off to your head when you're having a fit, so that could very well be part of that. But the other part of it was you only need to know what you need to know in the now. And I would come up with very profound statements to somebody. How do you know that? Can you repeat it? No. And I don't know. I
Hmm.
can't repeat it and I don't know. You just need to know right now. And I realized without realizing I was the channeler, right? It's just that if it was not important or something I needed to know, I didn't retain it. But if I did
Oh,
need
I
to
get
know
it.
it, right, I did
You
retain it. So
did.
I was the knowingness person of trusting what I needed to know when I needed to know. And for a long time, it was like I'm a bad scholar. I've only had 7 years of school out of 12 years of schooling, and so I'm very unacademic. And I'm dyslexic on top of that as well. So,
All right.
so school and I just, we just didn't mesh. But I ended up counseling teachers when I was a child, and then, ended up being that intuitive reader for people to show them their path forward. So later on, I began to understand that my intellectual knowledge was given to me in a totally different way, a total different understanding of how I was meant to use it. It wasn't meant to be from books. It was meant to be from the universal wisdom, and that I've always done it, even though on the human side, I was still trying to please everybody with what they wanted and be what they wanted of Sarah. While the other side of me was like, oh God, while you're busy doing that, we're busy doing this. So I was split for a while until I came together, right? But it is, it's just like We are so much more inside of us. We are this beautiful, purposeful, divine being that is here for a reason. Like I draw the analogy is that we've all got an instrument inside of us. It's up to us to discover what that instrument is, learn how to play it well as a soloist, but then be able to find an orchestra where each and all of you and all of your gifts can harmoniously play together to transcend that music out to everyone.
Absolutely. I refer to them as our highest gifts.
Yeah.
And when we're in a place of self-loathing,
Mm,
comparing, conforming, being an imposter, all the rest of that negative shit, how in the world can you access any of that? You can't.
nope. Nope.
Ergo, the need to be silent and still and get on in there and shine the light in the cave, as it were.
Be willing to take the journey. It's not about the destination. It's going to be a totally different destination to what you think it is. It is about your journey. You've got many chapters in your book of life. Each chapter, be willing to explore, have the experience, even if it isn't a great one. There's something
Right.
that you've learned in that chapter that you'll bring to the next chapter. Just be willing to be open to receive and explore, because if we don't, we just shrivel up and die.
Pretty much.
Having said that, my darling, I know the book isn't out yet, but people can pre-order it. So can you
Yeah.
please tell people, A, how they can get hold of the book and pre-order? Also, your services, how you
And
offer it to people and where they can find you.
absolutely. So, there is I'm sure part of this show will have those materials also. Yeah.
Yes, everything will
Uh,
be on your show plays. All you have to do
absolutely.
is put in your
So,
name and that will all
when
come up.
people ramble off some website address, you can just Google cosmic bitch slap, and there's a hyphen between the word
Mm,
bitch and slap. And if you Google cosmic bitch slap, the first thing that comes up is my website.
mhm,
And one of the on my homepage, and one of the website pages is the book. And you click on that and you can order the book that way. I've also sent you, Sarah, to give to your wonderful audience. There's a pre-order link. I
mhm.
mean, all roads lead to Rome,
Right,
but one of them is on my website and one of them is a standalone, a landing page that's
right.
a book pre-order page. Either one of those work, and it's just a very simple, you fill in your name and your email address, you hit send, and you do have to wait. People tend to click away. They
Mm,
click that and they get a message that says successfully sent, and then they run away, but you're being redirected to the payment processor.
right.
And so if you don't wait and get to the payment processor, I get an email saying Sarah Troy bought your book. Well, no, she didn't. She just gave me her name and her email address. So we wait for that payment processor, and that's very handy. It's either PayPal or Venmo or debit or credit card.
Mm,
Couldn't be simpler. And yeah, it's $25. There's no tax, and the shipping is included.
excellent.
And it'll be around towards the end of the first quarter. And it's a compelling, relatable, pretty funny read that I've gotten great feedback on, and it's tangible things that people,
Yes.
even though you might not have worked in the motion picture
Hmm.
industry, people tend to be like, "Oh, wow, yeah, that happened to me," or "Oh my
Hmm.
God, you what?" Or, and
Yeah.
I write like I talk, and it's pretty funny. So do please. I also Cosmic Bitch Slap is also my confidence building coaching practice.
Hmm.
And I work with I'll work with anyone, but entrepreneurs and leaders uh, to ref kind of redefine and optimize all the relationships in your life can be redefined and optimized when you're confident, and
Yeah.
cultivating curiosity and authenticity and enoughness and connection
Mm.
are how we build our confidence. And it's our confidence that redefines and optimizes all of our relationships.
Yeah.
So that's what I do coaching wise. And that also is a page on my website that's www.cosmicbitch-slap.com, or
Ex-
easier to just Google it, Cosmic Bitch Slap. It'll get you there.
And of course, if you come to selfdiscoverywisdom.com and just put in her name, Jennifer, Jennifer, Fiedler, Fiedler, a whole show page with everything comes up there and the link to the pre-order and everything else. So many ways to find you. And it's like, the book, for me, books are things that keep on giving. You may read a book and then you pick it up and I like to just go to a book and go, what do I need to know today? Open it up and there's something there, right? And it's like what I
Mm.
need to know today. And so you can revisit a book anytime. And of course, book clubs are wonderful because you're getting the different perspectives. But I also push podcast clubs where you listen to a
Oh,
podcast
yeah.
and you come and discuss what you've got out of it. And especially if you've read the book, listen to the podcast of the author, and then you come and then you discuss. What's coming up for me a little bit later is actually going to be Ask the Guest. I'm going to have a whole series where people then can come back and actually ask the guest about their book or about, their service and everything else in a live thing. So
Oh.
that is coming up for me there. So that will make it more exciting as well for people. But it's, the best teachers are those that have gone through it because what skills and tools and everything, you're passing on the things that worked for you. You're
Mhm.
passing on the observation, you're passing on the epiphany moments, you're passing on the how-tos. And again, when the person's ready to receive, then they're looking up and now how to. And the
Mm.
how-to is like, these are the tools. Again, how you bake them is up to you. But these are the
Quite.
ingredients, right? And we want people to use those ingredients in a way that they do relate to because that's what makes it, makes them more them. Right. But
Yes,
that's the whole
yes.
thing. It's that sharing that experience. That's what really works.
Indeed, indeed. And reading the book has catalyzed a lot of people to be like, "Oh, wow, I want me some of that."
Yeah.
I mean, it's that's also to address what you said, people have to be ready, but
Yes.
reading the book has
Yes.
catalyzed that readiness. So
Right.
I
The
encourage
inspiration
your
that we got the
audience and
invitation. Right. Exactly.
absolutely,
Yeah.
I encourage your audience and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for letting me appear here on your podcast.
My
It's
pleasure,
been an
darling. My pleasure.
absolute pleasure.
Oh, I delight having you here. And, right from the title, from your energy, from your whole outlook on life. And, that just, I mean, in the movie business, yes, you're going to bring your skills from one movie set to the other, but there is so much where you have to be instinctual or intuitive and kind of, see something that other people aren't seeing. And if you're not tuned into that, you're going to miss something very, very important. And so really what it's done is taken another direction in your life where now you're emphasizing what others aren't seeing and being able to reflect upon them, what you see, to enlighten and illuminate them, right?
Wow,
So,
indeed. Thank you. That's a compliment and nicely said. It's like to take what's up here and bring it down to earth to where it can be learned and digested and used.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I always say with these
Thank you.
shows, they listen, learn, and apply. You
Yeah.
listen to incredible amount of wisdom, right? Learn what it means to you and now apply. Because if you don't apply, it was just a great inspirational hour or two. But when you learn to apply, even just one thing, pivot, whatever, think differently, take action, do whatever, you're just going to see your life now begin to change. But it is up to you. You've got to be willing to walk it. So thank you so much, Jennifer. And to everyone else out there, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Just go to the podcast tab at the top there and you will see all the many genres and all 3,000 shows ready for your listening. We are here to serve you, to help you on your journey of life, and we know that through inspiration it begets invitation. We are supported by you, the listeners, and those that we interview. Anything that you can spare us in donation would be greatly accepted, and we do hope that you enjoy the next show.